The support NGOs in SDI actually make a commitment that their mandate and whatever they do and their own agenda will come from what the slum dwellers want. So we just can't create and say, oh, one day we're going to do youth, the other day we're going to do children. We can't do that. Because the slum dwellers decide what their agenda is, which is to build the capacities and the voice of slum dwellers to negotiate with their city governments for basic housing rights, for basic sanitation, for secure tenure, more than housing rights, for secure tenure in their cities. The early lesson that the slum dwellers learned was that they needed to actually count and do their own homework on how many families, how many toilets, collect data and information about themselves that the city never had. So for example, in Dharavi, which is Asia's largest slum, 800 people use one toilet. So you understand what the situation is. So instead of taking a demonstration in front of the municipal office and saying, give me a toilet, you go with the figures to the municipality and say 800 people use one toilet. How do you expect us to humanly live in these kind of conditions? Then it makes the bureaucrat think, okay, I have to do something about it. The slum dweller leaders realized that they needed to find a new way to talk to government, and that was to go prepared with figures, with statistics, with doing their homework, with going with concrete proposals, with going with concrete alternatives, proper solutions. So the communities actually go to the point of creating their whole settlement design and plan and giving that proposal to the city so that they can do their own slum upgrading. So for example, very recently in Uganda, 5 cities are working very closely where city officials and communities are working together to actually create alternative strategies for the urban poor in their cities. So they've gone through the whole exercise of slum mapping and slum enumeration. They've gone through the exercise of identifying their needs and creating their proposals and working with their city governments to procure services and procure professional support for the proposals that they make. So for example, these proposals consist of construction of local community toilets, making drains, little bridges, electricity, housing. So it consists of all kinds of community amenities and housing in these cities, 5 cities. The most important lesson for development practitioners is to open up this space between communities and city governments. And I think funding agencies and institutions like the EU have a very important role to play, because you have a mandate with which you can actually go to a country and say, we will support you if you are able to do this with the urban poor, and the governments will listen. So we need all kinds of mechanisms. We need allies basically who are ready to talk to our governments and support our governments and say, what can we do to support you to work with urban poor communities in your cities?